At Lookuptv, that is on X, and also on Facebook. We are at Lookuptv and on YouTube. Now, remember that we are live on this particular social platform, so be sure to send your feedback, and we'll be sampling some of it as we continue with the program tonight. Do tell us where you are watching us from and what you think about the stories that we are running today. Now, sign language interpreter tonight is Josephine Oko. Now, about 76 Kenyans have been killed by the ongoing El Nino rains that have wreaked havoc across the country, from floods, mudslides, and associated disasters. Now, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed said that the cabinet, in an emergency meeting on Monday, chaired by President William RUTO, came up with several interventions to help mitigate the effects of the El Nino on Kenyans. Floods continue to wreak havoc across the country. So far, 76 people have lost their lives. The cabinet has today set out measures to deal with the effects of floods, setting aside 7 billion as a contingency fund to help flood victims.
The state had allocated 7 billion shillings, with which it is implementing various programs to address the plight of Kenyans across the country. The funds were appropriated by Parliament and the contingencies fund as part of the 2023-2024 financial year budget and supplementary appropriations number 1 of the same financial year. The resources committed will be applied for humanitarian response, including distribution and supply of medical commodities, food and non-food items, rehabilitation of infrastructure, and resettlement of displaced families. The state's intervention is being undertaken in a joint effort between the national and county governments, and which incorporates the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Youth Service in operation with the Kenya Red Cross Society.
The government now says it is an alarm stage as 38 counties are listed to be in dire need of assistance and greatly affected. A statement read by State House spokesperson.
As part of the preliminary assessment of the severity of the situation across the country, the meeting noted that 38 out of our nation's 47 counties are within the alarm stage, a stage characterized by flash floods, general flooding in low-lying plains, rivers bursting their banks, landslides and mudslides, loss of livestock and destruction of farmland and infrastructure. Cabinet noted with regret that we have lost 76 Kenyans to El Nino, while 35,000 households have been displaced. The most severely affected areas are in the northeastern, eastern and coast regions specifically, but of course, there are more counties, as we're talking about 38. I'll just list them for you. In northeastern, the affected counties are Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa. So that's the entire northeastern region. Coast also, the entire region, Kilifi, Mombasa, Tana River, Taita, Taveta, Kwale, and Lamu.
The government says 10 billion has already been disbursed to counties to help in mitigating the effects of floods.
To fortify the national response, the cabinet sanctioned the following additional interventions. 1, scaling up the scope of humanitarian assistance to reach more than 50,000 households, especially in the arid and semi-arid counties. The cabinet also observed that to support county governments in addressing the disaster situations in their respective areas, the National Treasury last week disbursed 10 billion shillings of their shareable revenue. Cabinet also directed the National Treasury to release an additional 10 billion shillings to county governments this week, again, part of their shareable revenue. And of course, the government is encouraging the counties, as much as it's part of the shareable revenue, government is encouraging counties to try and reallocate some of these funds to the dire situation now occasioned by these floods.
So far, roads have been washed away, houses destroyed, and people dead. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv. Now, residents displaced by raging floods waters in Garemara ward of Isiolo County have made an appeal to humanitarian organizations to complement efforts being made by the county government to help alleviate their suffering. And at least 1,000 households in Garemara have been forced out of their homes as heavy downpour continues to pound the region, with flood water from the upper regions of Isiolo and the neighboring county of Meru wreaking havoc in the area.
As the Nino rains continue to wreak havoc in the country, more families are being displaced and forced to relocate to higher grounds. In Isiolo County, Garemara Ward residents have been displaced after at least 1,000 households were affected by the heavy downpour. Garemara Ward MCA Peter Losu said that it was time for non-governmental organization to temporarily suspend other development projects such as drilling of boreholes and construction of classrooms and join hands with the county government to ease the suffering of people adversely affected by floods.
Najua gavana wetu ameangana kiwango ile anaweza. Ameangana kwa serikali ya juu, ameangana county government, ameleta chakula, ameleta blanketi, ametuletea jana mpaka hata chakula kidogo mboga ambayo watoto walilala jana usiku. Lakini sasa ile chakula ambayo imekuja kwa leo, wale wananchi wamejitokeza ni watu wengi. Na watu wote wako na njaa, mpaka unashindwa utampatia nani, utaacha nani. Kwa hiyo ile chakula kidogo ambayo tulikuwa tumetenga kwa sababu ya wale wanalala hapa, imebidi tuwapatie wananchi wote ambao wameweza kujitokeza. Kwa sababu hatuwezi tukawafukuza wengine na hao pia wako na njaa. Kwa hiyo tungeomba serikali yetu ya county, tungeomba serikali ya national government. Kuna pesa Deputy President Gachagua alisema imetengwa na national government na imepeana kwa county. Tunaomba Deputy President kama hii pesa iko patiana kwa counties kama hujapeana ili watu wetu waweze kushughulikiwa because watu wetu wanaumia.
Vitu yote imeenda. Isa mabrangeti, isa nini wameenda na maji. Masuburia iletwa imeenda na maji. Watoto wa mbuzi imeenda na maji. Makuku imeenda na maji. Asa panda tractor watu wameumia tayari lakini hakuna mtu alikufa. Ile mama walijifungua ndani ya maji, tumejaribu na watu Red Cross tumetoa kando. Sasa hii msaada imefika, kusema kweli tunafurahi.
Elsewhere, villages in Kajiado County remain inaccessible due to impassable roads, while some bridges have been washed away following the continuous heavy rains in the country. Residents are now appealing to the national and county government to intervene, claiming that they are losing their businesses and running short of foodstuffs.
Hii barabara ya Lorongoswa imekuja kukuta mahali hapa kwa mashine. Imekwama kabisa na watu wametoka katika sehemu za mbali Lodoklani, pembe zote za Matapato wakienda soko. Lakini hapa wamekuja wakashindwa jinsi ya kutoka. So mimi nina hizi viongozi wetu kama Elijah Memusi, tunaomba aingilie kati hii barabara ya Lorongoswa, maana imekuwa changamoto sana kwa sababu ya kuna watu ambao wanategemea hii soko la Bisi na hawana nafasi ya kuingia katika eneo hilo. So tunaomba ujitokezee, maana tunashindwa jinsi ya kuenda katika ile soko.
Ebikadenyi, Lookuptv.
Still on matters, floods, fear and panic have gripped residents in the highlands areas of West Pokot County as heavy El Nino rains continue to pound the region, raising concerns about the potential recurrence of landslides and floods.
Highland areas of Lelan in Pokot South Sub-County and some parts of Pokot Central Sub-County are currently facing torrents of rain accompanied by thick mist and fog, adversely affecting crops and livelihoods. The heavy rainfall has also made roads hazardous, causing transportation to come to a sudden halt. This has heightened anxiety among residents considering the history of significant landslides in the area.
Na tumehofia kabisa hii mvua mingi kabisa imenyeshwa kwa sehemu ya Sondany. Tukiona sasa hii mnyonyoko ya ardhi ambayo ilikatika mbeleni, wakati ile ilikatika huko Nyarkulian, huko upande wa Cheptongo huko, na ilikatika inji ilikatika kwa sababu ya mvua mingi.
In 2019, more than 20 people lost their lives and massive destructions occurred, forcing thousands to be displaced from the villages of Muino, Nyarkulian and Parua during landslides. Another tragic incident occurred in 2020, claiming the lives of more than 50 people, destroying property and leaving over 1,500 people homeless in the Chesegon area due to floods and landslides.
Imezidi sana. Yani kwa wiki moja uwezi ona mbali jinsi mmonavyo. Uwezi tazama mbali yani kilomita moja na kwenda mbele uwezi ona.
In March of this year, a woman lost her life to flash floods in the Muino area, Pokot Central Sub-County. The floods also led to the destruction of buildings at Chemut Lokotio Secondary School, and parts of Ortum Market were washed away by floods. West Pokot Senator Julius Murgor and Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Works Joel Arumonyang currently interpatched to assess the situation, acknowledged the high altitude and chilly conditions in the Cherangan Hills. Senator Murgor emphasized that devastating landslides and floods have become a recurring challenge in West Pokot County.
Hapo awali ilipata pigo ya mambo ya landslide ama sehemu kuporomoka wakati moja ambapo watu wengi sana walipoteza maisha, watu zaidi ya 60 walipoteza maisha wakati ule, na kwa hivyo tunaomba.
Bridget Agola, Lookuptv.
Now, the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, the Kenya Pipeline Company, and the new Kenya Cooperative Creameries have been marked for privatization. Now, the National Treasury and Economic Planning Ministry has proposed. Now, through a public notice issued on Monday, the Exchequer said that the proposal has been made in accordance with the Privatization Act of 2023, Section 21, which dictates that the Treasury Cabinet Secretary shall identify and determine entities to be included in the privatization program. Ruga Ival now reports.
In the need to prevent the Kenyan economy from defaulting, Kenya will start its privatization drive by offering stakes in 11 companies, including the National Oil Corporation of Kenya. The listed firms are among more than 35 companies that are slated for sale to partially help the government raise revenue in the face of growing debt repayments. The proposal published by the National Treasury provided a framework for the privatization and restructuring of government-owned enterprises. This move was, however, taken to address the challenges faced by those entities, such as inadequate capital for investment and working capital due to dwindling government resources to invest in those entities, limited expertise in government-owned business and commercial operations, use of outdated technology due to lack of capital for investments, dual mandate of regulatory and commercial functions in some entities, and government crowding out the private sector in production of goods and provision. A further privatization and restructuring is geared towards government's efforts in budgetary allocation and stimulating an economic development through raising of additional revenue, reducing the demand for government resources, improving regulatory framework in the economy by unbundling regulatory and commercial functions among some entities, improving efficiency in the economy by encouraging more private sector participation. In accordance with the Privatization Act 2023, Section 21, that was approved by the Cabinet last month, the National Treasury shall identify and determine entities to be included in the program. Having taken all the considerations based on the law outlined, the following entities were proposed for the program: Kenya Literature Bureau KLB, National Oil Corporation of Kenya, Kenya Seed Company Limited, Kenyatta International Convention Center, Moya Rice Mills Limited, Western Kenya Rice Mills Limited, Kenya Pipeline Company Limited, New Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited, Numerical Machining Complex Limited, Vehicle Manufacturers Limited, Rivertex East Africa Limited. The government revised the law governing the sale of state companies last month to eliminate bureaucracy. However, distinguished leaders continue to uphold a different ideology, worrying that this will worsen Kenya's economic status. Ruga Ival, Lookuptv.
Now, the government faced, let me take that again. The government faced a significant setback. Okay, now I do believe we are due for our first break here on the Spotlight here on Lookuptv. Continue engaging us on our socials at Amoy Brian, that is on Twitter, at Lookuptv, on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program tonight. We take that break. When we come back, I'll be taking you through more stories, including Social Health Act that has been suspended by the courts just 2 days before its implementation. Don't go too far. We'll be back in a few.
Jaza mfuko na chapa kila nusu saa. Cheza tatua 3 na 10 bob 2 na ushinde Jaza bonus ya 10,000 Kenya shillings kila siku. Istoshe, ukicheza na 70 bob au zaidi, utakamua guaranteed bonus ya shilingi 5,000 dakika 30 zijazo. Si hayo tu, jaza keja na home makeover. Jaza parking yako na a brand new tuk-tuk au pikipiki. Hapa ni kujaza na tatua. Nenda kwa M-Pesa, chagua paybill number 150 chagua namba zako 3 za bahati kati ya 0 na 9 ukifuatanisha na neno Lookuptv. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 10 hadi shilingi 1,000 na ujaze mfuko na chapa kila nusu saa.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Are you looking for an office space? 4th Avenue Towers is a professionally designed 25-story executive office that is conveniently located at the heart of the Medical and Legal Services Square within community area. The office is easily accessible from both Valley Road and Ngong Road. Professionals and business people now have the opportunity to own a premium piece of office space, the optimum choice for the modern professional. Key utilities include 24-hour security with CCTV surveillance, high-speed internet access, ample and secure parking, high-speed elevators, power backup generator, open rooftop and a restaurant. 4th Avenue, an amazing product of Fusion Capital. Fusion Capital, rooted in the African growth story.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Right, thank you so much for staying with us here on the Spotlight tonight. Now, let's continue the program. Now, the government faced a significant setback as the High Court, in a ruling delivered by Justice Chachamuta on Monday, November 27th, temporarily halted the implementation of the Social Health Insurance Act 2023. Now, this suspension, effective until February 7th, 2024, stemmed from a case initiated by activist Joseph Enoch challenging the enforcement of 3 newly established funds announced by Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumicha. Now, Justice Mwita issued a conservatory order preventing President William Ruto, Health and Information Ministry Cabinet Secretaries, and the Attorney General, the Commission for Revenue Collection, the National Assembly, and the Senate, along with their agents, from implementing or enforcing the Social Health Insurance Act 2023, the Primary Health Care Act 2023, and the Digital Health Act 2023 during the specified period. The court granted the respondents and their agents a 7-day window to submit their responses to the case. Now, this legal intervention occurred just 2 days before the scheduled implementation of the new legislation, which sought to replace the National Health Insurance Fund with the establishment of 3 distinct funds. Now, the dispute over the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education KCPE results has landed in court, with parents from 2 institutions seeking to block Form 1 selection. Now, the parents whose children were candidates at Kitengela International School and Set Green Hill Academy Mixed Day and Boarding and Junior School, in their case filed on Monday, questioned how Kenya National Examination Council marked and graded their children. Now, they accused NEC of giving the students poor scores, claiming this was a first for the learning institution and the children.
Justice for our children, the true mark, the true reflection of the abilities of our children.
If there is a child who has been given or awarded more marks than they deserve, they should not be given an opportunity at Maseno School, because this child is going to be confused for the rest of their life.
We performed very much, we performed highly, and it's not what came with our results.
For the first time, we have produced the in-house examination results for these kids from Standard 5. What their exam results were. Standard 6, Standard 7, and the mock results of Standard 8. Remember, these schools do joint exams. Kitengela did a joint exam with 7 other schools. The students were ranked from number 1 to number last out of those 7 schools. The kids of Kitengela were among the students who got more than 400 marks. Our numbers are over 100. But the results of NEC, none. These kids have 200 marks, 300 marks. We have picked number of students who are in these schools, who left, and we have provided the marks they had before they left, and the final mark that they have gotten now under NEC. Those kids have done tremendously well. Where did the Kenya National Examination Council cook these results from?
Now, away from that, ODM leader Raila Odinga now says the RUTO administration has failed in every attempt to run the government rather. Now, while leading an ODM recruitment drive in Nyamira County, the former Prime Minister criticized the government over failed promises and corruption. Odinga also said the party will give direction and their stand on the bipartisan talks report this coming Wednesday.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on Monday called out President William Ruto's government, saying it has failed to honor the promises it made to Kenyans.
Yeye mazingira na wale wezi ambaye inaingia pande hii inatoka pande hii. Inaingia pande hii inatoka pande hii. Kwa hivyo sasa yeye hawezi kwenda mahali nyingine. Tuone amekwama pale. Kila kitu unaona ni wizi. Juzi niliongea juu ya mambo ya mafuta. Simuliona? Sasa mwana mambo ya mtihani vile imekuwa. Mtihani imekuwa mbovu zaidi. Watoto wetu watakuwa na shida mingi zaidi.
Speaking in Nyamira County during an ODM's Leader and Stakeholders Engagement Forum and Registration Drive of the Nyanza region, Raila laughed off assertions that the current government is on top of things, claiming that the systems have not been working since the Kenya Kwanza government took over the reins of power.
Kila mahali ambao unashika iko inaoza. Pale kila mahali inaoza. Kila mahali unashika inaoza. Inanuka tu. Kwa sababu gani? Laana ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Waliiba wakameza ikakoma kwa koo.
In his speech, Raila questioned the government's appetite for introducing new taxes, holding that such policies will not achieve their intended purpose and neither will they help the country in any way.
Sasa jamaa hana ujuzi. Yeye anaambiwa kitu vizuri kufanya ni kuongeza nini? Ushuru. Ushuru anaongeza hapa kila siku. Na lakini ile nyungu inavuja. That pot is leaking. Hata kumpatia Ruto miaka 100 na hiyo ushuru ya juu hata leta mabadiliko. hakuna mahali anaenda.
All right, on January 26, the High Court is scheduled to make a decision on whether to dismiss a petition challenging the declaration by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula that Kenya Kwanza is the majority party. During proceedings on Monday, the involved parties presented their arguments addressing concerns about the jurisdiction of the High Court in this matter and other related issues. Now, Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, representing the Kenya Kwanza side, urged a panel of 3 judges to request the petitioners to reconsider their case and formulate specific courses of action that warrant the court's intervention.
Have been the subject of litigation in this High Court. Indeed, one of my colleagues in a complaint against 15th respondent who is to be restrained from demanding taxes from the citizens of this country. My lords, so that I am not accused of not being as clear as they follow tonight, 15th respondent is Kenya Revenue Authority. Complaints between petitioner and Kenya Revenue Authority regarding the Kenyans to pay taxes or not to pay taxes is not a complaint that can be of the same that my client can be involved. Relief FF is a complaint or an order sought directed to the registrar of political parties to commence an inquiry into the registration of the first respondent.
One thing that my colleague has overlooked or forgotten to mention is the effect of Section 12(2) of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. That section gives the holder of the office of the Speaker of the National Assembly immunity from prosecution, both in civil and criminal matters. I urge you to so find and protect him as has been intended by legislation.
Right now, the Senate has fined Kajiado Governor Joseph Ole Lenku $500,000 for failing to honor summons to appear before the House. The Senate's Roads, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, chaired by Kiambu Senator Karungo Wathangwa, issued the fine on Monday. Now, the governor had been summoned to appear before the committee over a petition on access to title deeds for properties bought at Jamii Estate in Kisaju, Kajiado County. Thangwa noted that the committee summoned the Governor Lenku after he failed to respond to several letters on the matter.
Today we were expecting the governor of Kajiado, because in our previous meeting he was summoned to appear before this committee because we want him to produce evidence, document and information about Kisaju, because the residents of Kisaju, that is Jamii Kisaju Estate, had petitioned this Senate because they feel that they were conned, they feel that they gave money to an entity that is not giving them title deeds.
Representing Jamii homeowners, and we are very disappointed with the county. We have been held in suspense for close to 20 years, no title deeds, tunachezewa mchezo, and we have confidence in this committee itamaliza hii mchezo wanacheza. The governor is playing a game on us. They have taken millions and millions of shillings from us. We have houses, but no title deeds. Hatutaki kubomolewa kama Mavoko. We are afraid of that.
The governor has not showed up. The committee was waiting for him. We only received a call 45 minutes before the meeting started. And we had people who had come all the way from Kajiado. They wanted to hear what the governor had to say. The members of this committee had to leave what they were doing to come and listen to the governor. But having deliberated, we have invoked Section 19(1) of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act that says if a governor or if any witness does not appear before the committee, he can be either fined to an amount that is not exceeding $500,000 or arrested and brought to this committee. We had the option of doing those two things, to have the governor arrested to come here, but we have given him a suspended sentence of a fine of $500,000.
All right, we are due for our second break here on the Spotlight. Don't go too far. We'll be back in a few.
Since nilikuwa mtoto nitamani sana kufungua hoteli. So my dad alisave na capital, nikafungua this small cave as you can see. Nilikuwa natumia gas of which it was very expensive and very slow. Nilikuwa nakalisha orders, customers wangu wana complaints, party profits. Siku moja nikasikia story na tatu watatu. Mimi huyo nikaenda mbio nikaanza kuweka ka 10, ka 50, nikapanda hadi ka so. Sunday moja nikiwa pika zangu za kufanya job, nikapokea simu. Guess what? Ilikuwa watu watatu.
Wewe ni mshindi wa brand new chips fryer na potato cutter. Oh, yes. Congratulations, asante sana.
Kutoka hapo mpaka customers wangu nilikuwa na WhatsApp faster, orders napeleka mbio, profits zikakuwa mob. Pia wewe naweza kuambia ucheze tatu watatu na ujaze business yako na tatua business makeover.
Hapa ni kujaza na tatua. Nenda kwa M-Pesa, chagua paybill number 150 chagua namba zako 3 za bahati kati ya 0 na 9 ukifuatanisha na neno Lookuptv. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 10 hadi shilingi 1000 na ujaze mfuko na chapa kila nusu saa.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Nestled in the quiet and serene neighborhood of Makutano, just 2.8 kilometers from the Tarmac Road lies Alpha Meadows. This is a controlled gated community where you can build your city, home, or purchase for investment purposes. If you are looking for a place to call home, full of peace and quiet, with magnificent views, then Alpha Meadows is that place. To book a plot, call 0723 979797 or visit us on 4th Avenue Towers along 4th Ngong Avenue off Bishop Road. Alpha Meadows is a product of Fusion Estates. Fusion Estates, your land ownership partner.
Right, welcome back. Now, operations at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital were temporarily paralyzed after families stormed the facility to protest over the controversial death of their kin. Now, the family of the late Dan Muigai accused medics for negligence during the early morning incident.
Emotions ran high in the troubled facility, with the family of the late Dan Muigai accusing medics of negligence, forcing some of the medics to lock themselves in an office as the family demanded for justice before police moved in to contain the situation.
Ndio akaniambia hata kama pesa imekuja sasa kwanza koja hapo. Tukagoja tuko tumekaa kwa ile kiti ambayo unaona pale. Tukakalia hiyo kiti tukigoja. Wakati tumekaa almost an hour, nikamuuliza sasa hii tunaenda namna gani? In fact daktari aliniambia tuache ujinga. Na mimi tukatulia because ukiwa kwa daktari unafaa kutulia ugoje.
10,000 ni nini? Trouble started in the morning when the 40-year-old patient was really suffering from high blood pressure and low oxygen levels.
Hii imekuwa negligence ya daktari, yani direct kabisa. Na mimi iko kitu nilikuwa nisema, mtu kabisa hata kama ni private atahudumiwa, anafaa kuhudumiwa, baadaye adaiwe pesa.
According to the deceased uncle Stephen Mungai, the hospital demanded 10,000 Kenya shillings for the patient to be treated, a sum that the family did not have at the moment.
Hata hizo pesa ndio hizi 10,000 bado ndio hizi. Nikakuja nazo, nikamwambia pesa ndio gani? Ndio hizi. Sasa tukiwa pale akaniambia wewe ngoja kidogo. Kamwambia nitagoja namna gani na pesa ndio hizi, ikiwa ni ambulance, ikiwa ni nini, simuniambie kama iko kitu mnataka kuniandikia, simuniandikie alafu hii mambo tumalizie wapi? Sasa nikamwambia ngoja hapo nje, nikatoka nikaenda pale. Tukaketi pale, kuketi pale nikaona sijaridhika.
An emotional Mungai accused one of the doctors of arrogance and abuse, adding that their kin could have survived if there was goodwill, adding that the doctors removed their oxygen machine, accusing the medics of being driven by money, an act they say is the cause of their kin's death.
Mtoto ni wangu, mpaka nipate haki yangu kabla kufunika yeye.
Nilikuwa nauliza media ama niulize serikali, huyo daktari akiwa hapa akuje aongee aseme kwa nini alimtoa kwa mashini kama hakuna 10,000. Na ingawaje watu wote wangekuja na watoe 10,000, hakuna mtu anamuuliza. Lakini haki itendeke juu kuna wagonjwa wengine wapi? Kama umeletwa mgonjwa emergency na una 10,000, utatoa wapi? Atolewe kwa mashini juu hakuna 10,000.
The family took issue with the move to disconnect the oxygen machine, adding that they will not rest until the truth was known.
Sasa huyu mali amefika ni postmortem meza. Lakini hii nini imefanyika hata kama
Regan Lemegran, Lookuptv.
Now, the government is committed to accelerating the commercialization of research and innovation in the country. Now, President William RUTO said the provision of incentives and the scaling up funding in innovation will expand opportunities for the youth. The president was speaking at KICC during the Innovation Week.
Context by exploring how we strengthen the...
During the event, the president recognized the youth as the leading drivers of innovation in the country, whose startups secured 700 million in the year 2022, marking Kenya a top Africa investment hub. He added that the youth, who form the bulk of millions of unemployed Kenyans, are relying on innovation to unlock employment opportunities.
Youth continue to sustain innovation in our economy with youth-driven startups securing $700 million last year, among the highest globally, making Kenya a top African investment hub.
In addition, the president said that the government is taking measures to enhance funding to the national innovation agenda from 0.8% of the GDP to 2%, owing the role of innovation plays in economic transformation of the country.
To appreciate everybody who has come to be part of this great success, I am delighted to welcome you all to Kenya and to Kenya Innovation Week Commonwealth Edition, a significant upgrade of our already ambitious annual National Innovation Week. It is an honor for us as a country to host all our friends from all over the Commonwealth and the world over as we congregate around a matter whose relevance and significance.
During the Innovation Week, which was also attended by Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, the government unveiled the Kenya National Innovation Master Plan, which is a 10-year program that seeks to aggressively promote the achievement of innovation, value creation, and competitive advantage as integral components of the country's development.
Through many platforms, the ways and speed at which our national innovation policy is succeeding in entrenching a national culture of innovation. It highlights the importance that our society has come to attach to innovation. It also underscores the growth in the government's commitment to the promotion of innovation and demonstrates the interest of stakeholders, many who are here in our country, region, continent, and beyond, in our maturing innovation ecosystem that was ably articulated by Mr. Omwanza.
Catherine Saina, Lookuptv.
Right now, traders in Ruto, Kiambu County are facing challenges in the business landscape amid Kenya's economic difficulties. Now, the downturn is attributed to surging fuel costs, heightened taxes, inflation, and a devalued Kenyan shilling. Let's take a look at this and other news.
As Kenyans continue to grapple with tough economic times, rural market traders have raised their concerns over poor business environment as a result of the economic crisis. The traders lamented lack of accessible and cheap loans, a situation they blame for sluggish growth of their enterprises.
Mambo na mikopo, kwanza unajua sisi biashara zetu tuna survive na tunafanya kazi na mikopo. Na ile tumekuwa tukipata huku ni za Shylock. Na unajua Shylock liba yao iko juu. Na Sako na University Sako venye wametueleza mikopo yao ni interest ambayo tunaweza sisi tukaweza kuafford.
Kakamega County has placed strategies to control large influenza virus infections among health workers. This is according to the Director of Medical Services, Stephen Wandera.
Seasonal influenza is one of the most common conditions that affects our people. And now as healthcare workers, we do not want to come and pick the disease from our patients, take it home to our relatives, or pick it from our relatives and bring it to our patients. That's why now
a large percentage of the citizens have opted to source for their livelihood in the digital space. In Nakuru County, the government, in collaboration with Lish AI Labs, was able to sign a memorandum of understanding to provide a conducive environment to access digitally enabled jobs in a bid to address the high unemployment rate in the country.
We have teamed up with Lish AI Labs. We are training students on how to do the AI jobs in the labs. We train them, we mentor them, and then we allow them to work. And it's a process we expected to take about 6 months. Fortunately, it has taken us 3 months, and we are already seeing the fruits. So what we do,
as the country continues to mark 16 days of activism against gender-based violence against women and girls, Kiambu County Growth Kenya representative Jane Wangari says they have more than 28 cases before the court of law in the county, where the organization is pursuing justice for the victims who have faced violations of their rights.
There is no excuse against gender-based violence, and as we continue to commemorate 16 days of activism, let us hold hands and explain there is no justice, no excuse, no excuse. Every other day, let us continue saying we are not giving anyone any opportunity to create excuses. So we call other organizations to stand with us.
Wangari further called upon men who are facing domestic violence in the country to come up and report the matter to the relevant authorities to get their rights. Ivy Wangulu, Lookuptv.
All right, now the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's legal team has written an official request for investigation to EACC Kenya into the petroleum importation by name and style of G2G. Let me just read that particular statement that has been released rather a few minutes ago. Now it says, your silence in unison may be an indication of your belief that the call of duty is mistaken, a possibility we have been instructed to correct by laying out to you the facts here under. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is in charge of is charged by Article 79 of the Constitution of Kenya to ensure compliance with the enforcement of the provision of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Leadership and Integrity. Now, it is a long statement, but I'm just going to pick some of the things that I'm going to be reading to you so that you get to understand. Now, we have perused copies of this agreement furnished by Right Honorable Raila Odinga and wish to observe the following: that this is not a G2G. Now remember, this is the issue to do with the oil saga, 17 billion oil saga. Now, despite the attempt to fashion the oil importation deal as a sovereign arrangement between the government of Kenya and the government of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, this commercial contractual agreement with private companies, at least one of these companies is not incorporated in the country, which it is purported to represent as a sovereign entity. Indeed, none of them even purport to represent any of the governments claimed as popularly stated. Not surprising, therefore, we have not seen the phrase government to government used anywhere in the copies of the Master Framework Agreement shown to us, or nor any reference to any understanding between the government of Kenya and the sovereign government. Now, but surprisingly, it is the operational agreement that stated using the phrase government to government, the purposes for which, as said below, was to undermine Kenya's laws on procurement. All right, this is a statement by the Azimio legal team writing to the EACC about the investigation into the 17 billion oil saga that did rock the country. We'll be giving you the details of that particular report, all right, here on Lookuptv, especially on our social platforms at Lookuptv, that is on Twitter and also on Facebook, and on our site www.lookuptv.co.ke, where you get updated on anything that is breaking here in the country. All right, we've come to the end of our bulletin tonight. Thank you so much for making time for this program here on Lookuptv. We do not take you for granted, especially trusting us to bring you up to date with the news making headlines across the country. My name, as always, is Brian Amuai. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Josephine Oko. On behalf of everyone that made it a success, do have yourselves a lovely night.